Hey, it's Luke, warehouse manager here, and we just put out a video where we were I was kind of asking you, would you want a couple different products that we've kind of found interesting and want to do either make available or make more readily accessible and available by reducing the price point but maintaining a high level of quality. And one of those is the asymmetric pulleys for rear derailleur. Now, I find them particularly interesting. A lot of people have had really positive feedback. So we're working on the packaging right now and getting that all squared away. And then I'll let you know as soon as I have any updates as to, I mean, gosh, we're still just knee deep in the packaging and figuring that out. So we're working on that. But I began to kind of reflect on it because now that we're going to move forward with production, I wanted to kind of look back historically and also kind of bring it back around to why these are a good solution. So what's a solution? It's a solution to allow for greater chain wrap, which means at least in this particular instance, you can have a larger cog in the back and more teeth, your chain ring, on a rear derailleur that's not meant for it, which I love doing things where it's just not meant to work, like running a 12-speed rear derailleur with a 9-speed cassette, 9-speed chain on a 12-speed front, 1x chain ring, set to friction. And that's not the most, I mean, I don't even find that ridiculous compared to some of the things that I've done. But anyway, and what I mean by chain wrap is the maximum amount of teeth that your chain can wrap. So, for example, let's say I'm running an 11 to 50 in the back and a 40-26 up front. Let's just say that's a 14 tooth difference up front and 39 in the back, which means what's 14 plus 39? 53. So there's a 53 tooth difference. When you're running a 53 tooth difference, you need to have a rear derailleur that can wrap that much. That's a lot to wrap. I don't have a rear derailleur on hand that can do that. Just using that as an example. So with these pulleys, it allows you to take specifically contemporary Shimano, Dura-Ace 105, Ultegra, and make them act as if they have a longer cage. Now, you can absolutely retrofit these pulley wheels to other contemporary and vintage derailleurs. I personally put them on an old XDR RD M952 from late 90s, 99, something like that. But what I needed to do is the inner part of the cage had a little bit of a curvature for chain retention and optimized performance, and I took it and put it in a vise and flattened it. I have dropped the chain because of that. So it's not ideal, but it can be retrofitted to multiple models. It's just depending on what level of compatibility you want. So take that for what you will. But this isn't a new issue, and specifically, there's a reason why there are long, medium, and short cage rear derailleurs. The long cage derailleurs in particular, they've always been trying to solve for this, to have greater chain wrap with no downside. Now, the problem with a long cage, especially in off-road applications, road, it's less of a concern, but with off-road applications, you have a long cage, it means there's greater likelihood it's going to strike rocks or get damaged. There's a reason why, this is almost directly, I don't know if it's verbatim from Disraeli Gears, which I love this site, but this rear derailleur here by Suntour, I've had two of them. One of them exploded on me. I have one at home that's in good nick, but it's weird looking, right? Well, it's trying to solve for greater chain wrap while still maintaining the length or profile of a medium cage rear derailleur to avoid that cage from striking any rocks. Now, admittedly, they were so wrapped up with this that they lost out to Shimano, who was at that time developing index shifting. But be that as it may, I think it's a novel approach. And so, but do you want a really whack looking rear derailleur? I think it's cool. I find it to be very charming. In fact, for a period of 2 or 3 years, I built my entire drivetrain around that rear derailleur and didn't run anything if it didn't work with it. I've moved on. Now I'm the latest XTR. But anyway, so with that in mind, and with that context, and I have this. So I'm gonna put this a bit higher and I'm actually gonna scoot back just to make sure it's all in the shot. I shot this in 0.5 when I was adding it to the last section by accident, because the first take was, you can only see this, and anyway, you don't care. So for reference, these are regular pulleys here, and you have a limited amount of chain wrap that you can get. And that is, for example, my XTR rear derailleur. It's plenty fine. It's a long cage, but it's a long cage from the 90s, so it doesn't quite have the capacity. Obviously, the shape of the parallelogram is all different too. Like if I'm looking at that next to the contemporary XTR that I have on this bike here, vastly different. We're not going to get into that. That's another video, may never get made. But for the purposes of this, they are fixed. These, the inner rotates and the outer rotates. So you have a lot more movement. It also means that you can have massive chain wrap when you need it, and then no chain wrap when you need that slack. So depending on your shifting, it means that I can get that 40-tooth rear cog, the 40-tooth front chainring. And I couldn't do that before. I was limited. So I think what I was running before was an 11-34, because I had such a significant difference. I mean, I had enough of a difference up front with 14 teeth, and then running the 11-34. I didn't really want to run anything past that with that rear derailleur, and I could have, but I was like kind of keeping things within their tolerances for the most part now. My tinkering spirit has died down just a little bit. What really began in earnest with Sun Tour in the mid 80s with that XC that I showed you, it was sold as a bunch of other things too, has continued. And I think this is the most elegant solution of them. And also, I'm very much of the mindset, I don't really like buying a lot of bike stuff. It sounds funny to me. I talk to people about it. I only have a handful of bikes really, and they have very specific purposes. And whenever I don't need them, I sell them off. Whenever I have a bunch of parts I don't need, I sell them off. I give them away. I get a lot of samples, a lot of prototypes. I share them with friends, or we have a giant prototype bin here. It's crazy. You build a whole bike or two from it. These to me are really nice because I can keep the same rear derailleur without needing to buy a new one. I like keeping bike parts on the road, and I like keeping interesting rear derailleurs being used. I can do that with my XTR while still having greater capacity and keeping my bike, to me, at least a bit more interesting and less homogeneous, and all new components everywhere. So, and to that point of the no new, not all new components everywhere. Like I said, this is meant for more contemporary Ultegra and Dura Ace and 105. So it's very much meant for contemporary road groups. But again, there's some adaptability to it depending. When we sell this, it's not going to be compatible with a million things. It's going to be compatible with these things, and perhaps with some finessing, compatible otherwise. So I would love to field any questions you have. Again, as always, I like having a reminder, this is not all that I do here. I'm not just a warehouse manager who appears on video, and I don't manage a warehouse. I manage that warehouse back there and make sure that all of your orders are arriving in a timely manner, and if they're not, it's not my fault. And then I do plenty of other things, but I try and make time as best as I can to get the comments. Leave some if you have them. Feel free to email in too. My email is Luke, Luke, at merrysales.com, MERRY sales.com. No trick spellings, no BS, but feel free to email me. I'd love to field some of your queries. and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, take care.